morning, everybody. I think everything is working on all the channels. I hope you all had a great weekend. I have had some withdrawal symptoms from the reading, which is okay. We all need to take some time off. I'm going to see if I can stop shaking the table, but it is good to see you all. Yes, had a bit of time off. Still only have Rich Dad Poor Dad in Chinese. We're going to let Mladen into the Zoom just here. And we are going to get straight into, after I have done one more thing that I need to do on the screen here. There we go. And we're going to say hello to everybody that is joining. So we'll say hello, hello. And we're going to be reading The Art of Thinking Clearly. And I just saw on the back for the first time, it actually says The Secrets of Perfect Decision Making. So that's really interesting. So where are we up to? We're up to chapter 38. Everyone is beautiful at the top. The halo effect. Who's looking forward to getting back into some reading today? I thought so. Okay, here we go. Cisco, the Silicon Valley firm, was once a darling of the new economy. Business journalists gushed about its success in every discipline. Its wonderful customer service, perfect strategy, skillful acquisitions, unique corporate culture, and charismatic CEO. In March 2000, it was the most valuable company in the world. When Cisco's stock plummeted 80% of the following year, the journalists changed their tune. Suddenly, the company's competitive advantages were reframed as destructive shortcomings. Poor customer service, a woolly strategy, clumsy acquisitions, a lame corporate culture, and an insipid CEO. Isn't that interesting how we just twist things around so quickly? It is unbelievable. All this, and yet neither the strategy nor the CEO had changed. So what had changed? In the wake of the dot-com crash was demand for Cisco's product, and that was through no fault of the firm. So there will be people who disagree with that, but that is another story entirely. So the halo effect occurs when a single aspect dazzles us and affects how we see the full picture. In this case of Cisco, its halo shone particularly bright. Journalists were astounded by its stock prices and assumed the entire business was just as brilliant without making closer investigation. This is why it is so important to look at things holistically on a bigger picture scale, and then you can be more objective, because very often a lot of articles, and this is the other thing, a lot of times if you have a look at magazines that like stock market magazines, or you look at real estate magazines, what will happen is that the people who advertise in those magazines are actually the companies that they write about. So if they are advertising in your magazine, you don't want to write bad things about that company. You're going to tell them that the company is amazing and wonderful and great. But obviously, if something bad happens, then they're going to have to write that it's not so good. But very often, newspapers will write about companies that they like, maybe because they're advertisers, or maybe for all these different other reasons. The halo effect always works the same way. We take a simple to obtain or remarkable fact or detail, such as a company's financial situation, and extrapolate conclusions from there that are harder to nail down, such as the merit of its management or the feasibility of its strategy. And also, just thinking about it, if you have a look, there could be two people that are doing very similar things, and yet one gets really amazing results and the other doesn't. And there are underlying things. So it may not just be the product that's being sold or the market in that point in time. It could also be the charisma of the person, what kind of psychology they use in order to be able to speak to you. And one is off-putting and the other is not off-putting. But at the same time, that doesn't have to be the case, because you could have one person who attracts this tribe over here and somebody else that attracts a different tribe based on their psychology and how they speak to people. And then we get into really deep psychology, and it can go even deeper down the rabbit hole, because you also have the fact that some people are going to sabotage themselves and some people are not. So it's very, very interesting. Technically speaking, there's very little that we humans actually can evaluate properly. Okay, so let's continue. We often ascribe success and superiority where little is due, such as when we favor products from a manufacturer simply because of its good reputation. Another example of the halo effect, we believe that CEOs who are successful in one industry will thrive in any sector, and furthermore, that they are heroes in their private lives too. Interestingly, That also just reminds me of something else. If you have a look at Apple and a company called Lenovo, and I actually am recording this on a Lenovo computer. And there's a reason why I bought the Lenovo. And if you have a look, most people will buy an Apple because Apple is supposed to be the best company. It has the best customer service, the best, you name it. But did you know that Lenovo is the most reliable company in the world for producing products? So they have the least amount of faults and the least amount of technical issues with their machines. So for every, I think it's 1,000 machines they send out, one might have a defect. Or actually, that's probably Apple. For every 1,000 that they send out, one has a defect. Whereas for Lenovo, one in every 10,000, or it might be 20 or 30,000, I can't remember, but it is a massive difference. And so that's why I ended up buying a Lenovo, because I've bought other computers in the past, and very often there's been some kind of issue with something at the beginning, and I've had to get it repaired, and then it was working fine. But with Lenovo, there's a much bigger chance that you're going to have a computer that is not broken to start off with, whereas a lot of other companies have computers that are broken to start off with. Okay. Another example of the halo effect. We believe that CEOs who are successful in one industry will thrive in any sector. And furthermore, that they are heroes in their private lives too. Definitely not the case. The psychologist Edward Lee Thorndike discovered the halo effect nearly 100 years ago. His conclusion was that a single quality, for example, beauty, social status, age, produces a positive or negative impression that outshines everything else, and the overall effect is disproportionate. Beauty is the best studied example. Dozens of studies have shown that we automatically regard good people as more pleasant, honest, and intelligent. Attractive people also have it easier in their professional lives, and that has nothing to do with the myth of women sleeping their way to the top. The effect can even be detected in schools where teachers unconsciously give good-looking students better grades. This is all extremely true. Advertising has found an ally in the halo effect. Just look at the number of celebrities smiling at us from TV ads, billboards, and magazines. What makes a professional tennis player like Roger Federer a coffee machine expert is still open for debate, but this hasn't detracted from the success of the campaign. We are so used to seeing celebrities promoting arbitrary products that we never stop to consider why their support should be of any importance to us. But this is exactly the sneaky part of the halo effect. It works on a subconscious level. All that needs to register is the attractive face, dream lifestyle, and that product. So there's a very interesting documentary called The Century of the Self that explains some of why this works and how it works. And for me, after watching, well, actually, I had parents who weren't very influenced by advertisements, and they would be quite critical. If we saw a price tag of $2.99, my mom would call that $3. If we saw an advertisement, she would be critical of the advertisement, and she would ask, for example, if there was somebody who plays a doctor on TV who was advertising something that was most likely to be promoted by a doctor, and she knew that he wasn't a doctor, she would be critical about it. So I was very lucky to be separated from the halo effect as a child. But it is absolutely true that, for example, there's another example, and it might be mentioned in here, but I'm not very sure, might be in a different chapter. If you have a look at court cases, very good looking people who are on trial in a court very often get lenient sentences as opposed to people who are less attractive, and they get harsher penalties. And it's the same crime, they've done the same thing, but they get different penalties based on how they look. It is amazing how our human psyche is wired, our brain is wired to look for attractiveness. And this is, it's understandable if you have a look at why and how humans developed and what our lives used to be like in the past from a reproductive point of view. But when it comes to business, it has no relation, but we still use it because it's a shortcut that our brain wants to use. And it's one of the only things that it knows how to do, so it just uses that. Sticking with negative effects, the halo effect can lead to great injustice and even stereotyping when nationality, gender, or race becomes the all-encompassing feature. Interestingly, there was also a study that I saw, while we're going deep into this one again today, where you have colored children, and they're shown two dolls, a white doll and a black doll. and they're asked which one is the good one and which one is the bad one. Now, you would expect that a white child would say that the white one is a good child and the black one is a bad child. Obviously, from a very young age, they're not going to know the difference between good or bad, and they're not going to be able to do this experiment. But when they reach a certain age, and I think it's around 6 or 7 years of age, they start to differentiate between good and bad. And no matter what color the child is, they will always say that the black child is the bad child and the white child is the good child. It is fascinating how this works, even within your own cultural sphere in that sense. The halo effect clouds our view, just as it does the view of journalists, educators, and consumers. Occasionally, this effect has pleasant consequences, at least in the short term. Have you ever been head over heels in love? If so, you know how flawless a person can appear, only for a short term though. You, Mr. or Mrs. Perfect, seem to be the whole package, attractive, intelligent, likable, and warm. Even when your friends might point out obvious failings, you see nothing but endearing quirks. The halo effect obstructs our view of true characteristics. To counteract this, go beyond face value, factor out the most striking features. World-class orchestras achieve this by making candidates play behind the screen so that sex, race, age, and appearance play no part in their decision. And interestingly, with regards to everything that's been happening recently, orchestras are actually being banned in the United States at the moment from doing blind auditions, which will eliminate the race, the gender of the person. And now they have to do auditions in full sight so that they can create a more diverse orchestra with a diverse set of people, as opposed to purely on the talent that they have in their musical ability. So it is very interesting what is happening in that regard. So, to business journalists, I warmly recommend judging a company by something other than its easily obtainable quarterly figures. The stock market already delivers that. Dig deeper. Invest the time to do serious research. What emerges is not always pretty, but almost always educational. And to take that a step further, I think it is impossible to really know what is going on because everything is so complex in life. And a lot of gurus will not want to hear this because everybody wants a simple answer and wants to be able to come up with something that's going to give them a way to see things so that we feel that we have some form of predictive power. And everything is just so complex that there is a way to be able to evaluate things, but there is also a certain amount of luck involved because you could pick a beautiful company that you've evaluated very, very well and not know that underneath the surface something is going on. So it is one of those things. This was the halo effect. It's a very interesting chapter. We could go into this even more deeply, but I'm sure all of us have to go and get ready for the day today. I'm looking forward to a really amazing day today. Tomorrow, we are going to be reading chapter 39. Congratulations, you've won Russian roulette. It's going to be a very interesting one. Alternate Paths is the chapter name. I'm looking forward to reading that one for you tomorrow. It has been great reading The Art of Thinking Clearly. I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow for another chapter, another day, another opportunity, and some more things that we can do in order to be able to think more clearly and better, to be able to have better results in what we're doing. And thank you to everybody that was joining on Big O Live. I see a couple of people who have sent little hearts and different other things. Sweaty Girl Summer and GSXHMP, who was also here in the past already, sent a heart and different other things. So thank you to everybody that joined. I will see if I can quickly follow everybody. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you all next time. Have an absolutely amazing day. And I will see you tomorrow for chapter 39.